And the line that Gambo sent in his email, and I had read before he sent it in his email, and I'm just going to read it to you word for word here. Quote, "This is not to say the Rockets and Suns are not in communication. On the contrary, Phoenix is aggressive in pursuit of A, trading Kevin Durant, and B, regaining full control of their draft capital starting with the 10th pick in next month's draft," team sources said. Since the conclusion of the season, Houston has fielded several calls from Phoenix, who have since gradually lowered their asking price for Durant, those sources said. There is a price where the Rockets would be interested, but with a fear of breaking up their roster for a 36-year-old coming off injury, doubt remains over a deal materializing. Close quote.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of players that have to be included to match the salary. So that's where you automatically start with, say, like a Jalen Green if you're dealing with Houston. The hang-up will be, the Suns would probably take a Reed Shepherd or a Cam Whitmore, but they might want a Tari Eason. Could they get Jabari Smith in this deal? Because I think that would be a home run if you could get Jabari Smith and you could get Jalen Green, and then you could get one of those young guys or a draft pick back. Houston might feel like we can do this with just giving you Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, and, one other player to make the salary work that they don't want. The team that I heard last night in speaking with somebody pretty close to the situation with KD is keep your eye on the Spurs. That KD could have some interest in the Spurs. That might be a good landing spot for him, with Fox and Wembanyama and an up-and-coming team on the rise that has a great defensive anchor to their team and a terrific young player in Castle. And I start to, pick the brains of some of the people I'm speaking with and what could they get. So, the key player coming back if they were to do a deal with San Antonio, as we just discussed, I'm not reporting this, but you might have to take Harrison Barnes back to make the money work, but then could you get Devin Vassell, who's a really good player, you got to get young assets back. And the thing with Vassell, with San Antonio, or Jalen Green with Houston is that they're two guards. They're two guards. And you can sit there, you don't want a guy who plays the same position as Booker. But, you might have to. You might have to take back somebody who plays the same position. You need to get younger talent. You could always trade somebody down the road or move somebody to small forward instead of the two-guard spot. Or you could have somebody be the point guard and not the two guard. So the most important thing we're here, in all honesty, is just they've got to get back young talent and hopefully acquire some draft picks, which is why I'm saying I expect – I'm not guaranteeing this, but I would expect that a KD deal would happen right before the draft, because that would because you'd want to include draft capital in any deal. So I think that a Kevin Durant trade would come up this month, sometime before the draft, probably close to the draft if it's going to happen.
The draft is, I'm just looking at my calendar here on my phone real quick. I believe it's Thursday, June 26th. It's the draft. So, and I think you're right. Any if it's San Antonio when you're getting the 12th pick back, or if it's Houston and you're getting the 10th pick back, if you'd want to do it before. You'd want to do it before, so they could basically make that pick on your behalf, so you could
be draft day. Like it could be a draft day trade, but you probably want to get it done right before that.
My guess would be draft day, or in the 24 hours leading up to draft day is when something like that would happen. I could very much see the day of the NBA draft being a day where something like that happens. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, to have this story – and in the same story, by the way, they also once again reiterate, and we saw this report about a month ago, that Houston is kind of cooling on Devin Booker, even if he were available. Now, it's easy for Houston to say they're cooling on Devin Booker when Devin Booker's not available.
Not available.
But, they go through all the reasons why they might be cooling on him. But there's also, and this a lot of leverage, right? And there's a lot of, we're going to put stuff out there in the media to kind of send a message to let you know, hey, we're trying to drive the price down a little bit on KD and see if we can get a little bit less for him than what they're asking for, et cetera, et cetera. No, we're not that interested in him, to make Phoenix think that they've got to work extra harder to trade him there. San Antonio's an interesting option, and maybe that would give the Suns the leverage necessary to be able to play the two Texas teams off each other a little bit to get a better deal. And the other thing I'd say, too, about whether it's a Jalen Green or another two-guard coming back, you could always reflip that guy or in essence, make it a three-team trade if you wanted, where somebody else gets Jalen Green and you get a part that fits you a little bit better. Either way, Houston is very much trying to puff out their chest a little bit and make it sound, no, we're good. we're good. We like our team. We like our young roster. Phoenix keeps calling, and we're really not that interested, and we're definitely not interested in Devin Booker. They're certainly trying to create the perception, whether it's the reality or not, I don't know, but they're trying to create the perception that they're good. They're okay. They don't need to make a deal, and I'm sure they're trying to do that in part to create some kind of leverage situation against the Suns. I would think.
Probably. There's reports out there the Suns would prioritize getting a center back, and I don't know that. I mean, I could understand the logic with that. I don't want Karl Anthony Towns. I would take Mikal Bridges if the Knicks are interested. But the Knicks just fired their coach, so they've got their own issues that they've got to deal with Tom Thibodeau being let go. You look at Minnesota with the relationship between Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant, lead him there. I could see that, but you look at the roster and okay, I'd love to get McDaniels back, and it'll be interesting. I think that starting in the next few days, I think we'll probably have a clearer indication of some of the teams that could be interested in Kevin Durant. I think once the head coach is announced, that'll be the first priority of business is how do you get rid of Kevin Durant? How do you get rid of Bradley Beal?
Right.
I think once the coaching hire is official, then I think they'll move on to the next phase, and that will be working on, redoing the roster and trading Kevin Durant and figuring out a way to get off of Bradley Beal.
Yeah, and just not for nothing, as my good friend John Gambo would say. Not for nothing. But there was one other, and I saw this right before the show started, so if I'm springing this on you, I apologize, but I just saw it. Sam Amico via HoopsWire reporting one league source told HoopsWire not to be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks get involved in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. While they have yet to hire a president of basketball operations, team ownership has already inquired internally about KD, according to sources. Now, again, whether he'd want to go there or not, I don't know. He'd sign that extension. He has control over this to a certain extent. Whether he'd want that or not, I don't know. But that report is out there, too.
I think that just backs up what I've kind of believed is that there are going to be several teams that want Kevin. He's Kevin freaking Durant.
I hope you're right. We need you to be right. Maybe more than ever, we need you to be right on this.
Yeah,
Gambo.
I think there's going to be several teams that want Kevin Durant. I mean, he still plays at a top 10 level. And, if you say, okay, we're going to have him for 3 years, can he give us 2 good years? Can he give us 2 great years? Okay. But I do think there's going to be a lot of interest.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.